You know how in these videos when they show you the fancy cars, the Lambos, the houses, the luxury success that comes with the Airbnb arbitrage? Well, I'm not saying they're lying, but they're not telling you the whole truth either. And to be honest with you, I'm part of that problem. But that stops today. In this video, I want to pull back the curtain and do what most people will never do, is to tell you the truth and brutal honesty about Airbnb arbitrage. Because trust me, despite what I tell you in this video, Airbnb arbitrage is the fastest, most effective way to make a full-time passive income in 2024. But I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you all the problems that are associated with it. So watch the video to the end, as I'll give you everything. Every problem you're gonna face when it comes to growing your Airbnb portfolio. All the brutal lessons that I've learned from this reality. And most importantly, how can you avoid all the mistakes that I made over the last 3 years? How you don't lose tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars along the process. If you don't know me, my name is Humza. I went from working as a 9-to-5 engineer making $4,000 a month all the way to growing my Airbnb portfolio to over 400 units, making over $1 million per month. And I help other people just like you start their very own Airbnb arbitrage business. And I'm not giving you all this to brag, I'm giving you context on where I'm coming from when I'm sharing this with you. Let's get into it. In your Airbnb arbitrage journey, you're gonna have different phases as you scale your business. The skill set and the problems you face from 0 to 10 properties is a lot different from scaling from 10 to 25, from 50 to 100, and so on. In this video, we're gonna cover specifically the problems that I faced in my business, scaling from 0 to 50 units. Now, 50 units will make you around $2 million a year from Airbnb arbitrage. That's a fact. So essentially, these are all the problems that you're gonna face when scaling your Airbnb business to $2 million a year. From 0 to 5 properties, the biggest challenge you're gonna face when starting your arbitrage business is not really understanding how to pitch a business model to landlords. When I first started this business, I never really had a pitch. I never really had a structure when it comes to pitching landlords. I just had a really good sales experience. I was really good at conveying the message that I wanted to anyone in any realm. So when I first started this business, I was on Zillow.com looking at houses and apartments that were sitting vacant for more than 2 to 3 months. I finally found my very first house that was sitting vacant for 2 months in a row. I went to the landlord, pitched him in person, and finally convinced him to allow me to Airbnb that one house. So initially off the bat, my confidence was very high because I was successful for my very first pitch. But for my second property, I got denied right away. I went for the tour, asked the owner, pitched in person. He denied me within 3 seconds of the word Airbnb even leaving my mouth. After that instance, my mindset had to be rewired. It wasn't about getting rejected, it's about volume. If I reach out to 100 landlords, at least 3 or 4 of them had to say yes due to the amount of sheer volume that I'm doing. Then eventually over time, you become more confident in your ability to pitch. You actually start developing a script. You start developing what to say, what not to say, what things to avoid, what to leave out, and what to actually include, and make sure you convey as most important as possible. Now, second problem you're gonna face from 0 to 5 properties is actual guest issues. So a lot of times we had guests staying when we had our first 0 to 5 units, would come into the property, smoke on towels, destroy the comforters, destroy sheets. My wife and I would be cleaning every single apartment, dealing with smoke in the rooms. I remember us going to buy ozone machines, spraying fans, cleaning everything ourselves, destroying things. It was a nightmare. And at one point, I looked at my wife and I asked, man, is it really worth doing all this work? All these problems happening every single day? The reason why those problems were happening was because I didn't understand how to screen my guests properly. Back then, I would let anybody and everybody book any of my units. Since then, I've developed just such a high level system to screen my guests to make sure we don't let anybody into our property unless they pass through the criteria that we specifically created for a lot of my problem cities. You end up being too emotionally invested in your business, which is something you should not be doing. This is a business at the end of the day, and it's on hospitality. People will not take care of your property if you pick the wrong people to enter your property in the first place. So make sure you're screening your guests and don't just let anybody book your place without actually doing a comprehensive, full thorough background check on them. You can use multiple different softwares to automate the entire process, such as AutoHost.ai or Superhog. I personally use Enso.ai. Now, scaling your business from 5 to 50 units has a complete different skill set. The reason is because now you have to do things at scale. You can't be at 10, 20 different places all at once. You have to finally start hiring, start outsourcing, and start delegating. Your time is very limited. You cannot be wasting time on doing things that are not revenue producing activities. I didn't hire my first VA to do customer service and guest communication until I had my 10th unit. We had so many times guests messaging us at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. My wife and I are trying to sleep, messaging us, hey, I can't get into the property. The smart lock died. What's the door code? What's the Wi-Fi? And at that point, I'm like, man, this is not a business. This is another job that I just created for myself. If that's the situation that you're currently in, and I hate to break it to you, you're not an owner, you're an operator. And that's the last thing that you really want to be in this business. You have to learn to delegate almost everything. Then finally, eventually along that road, after 10 units, I started hiring VAs. had to fire VAs, started training VAs, creating SOPs, creating processes, creating different systems in place to make sure as a new VA would get onboarded, they know exactly what to do, what to say, especially when it came to new properties and whatnot. So there's a huge learning curve when it comes to hiring people. You start managing people, have to start hiring employees, hiring cleaners, dealing with different cleaning contractors. If you scale to 50 units in one location, you need to hire in-house cleaners. And how do you scale an in-house cleaning team? These are all things that you have to learn along the way and make sure you don't make mistakes that will cause you to lose thousands and thousands of dollars like I did. If you manage to scale to 50 units by the end of your first year, that's really, really good. Now it's going to come time for your leases to actually renew. The key is not actually how many leases you're picking up, it's how many leases you can actually stay in. A lot of people start arbitrage and after a year are not in those same properties anymore because they didn't do a good job of controlling their guests and keeping your landlord in the building happy. What ends up happening is you let a lot of parties happen, a lot of bad guests into your property, and after your lease is over, they choose not to renew you. That's when you get kicked out and have to move all your furniture out and go into a brand new building. To even prevent that from happening, which has never happened to me, you have to make sure you prevent all the bad guests from entering your property, having a good relationship with your landlord, your residents, and your neighbors, and making sure everybody's happy, making sure that everybody wants you there in the first place and you're not a burden to the building. You have to then learn how to negotiate lease renewals, not just how to actually negotiate that lease, but what is the renewal rate going to look like? How much is the rent going to increase by? Are you going to get a certain security deposit back? How do you negotiate those terms? And for a long multi-term lease, these are all things that really matter. Just scaling your business from 5 to 50 units is going to be the biggest challenge that you can possibly face, but it's going to be the most fun because you're going to learn a lot. Just 100 of my students alone have now scaled or are scaling towards that 50 unit mark, and their skill set from when they started was working in a 9 to 5 all the way now to being a full-on entrepreneur with teams in multiple different sections under their management. And finally, scaling past 50 units. Scaling from 50 to 100 is pretty much the same process of scaling from 1 to 50. The only difference is your actual operations have to change. You have to have more VAs that understand everything from A to Z when it comes to listing your property, taking photos, thinking to price labs, revenue management, guest communication, claims, maintenance, everything and anything you can think of that is going to waste your time. Just last year, 2022 to 2023 winter, I lost $250,000 during that entire 4-month span, mainly because I didn't understand how to price my units properly during that entire slow season, because that was the first time I went from 150 units to 250 in such a short amount of time. And on top of that, because I didn't account for cash flow properly, I was actually short on rent during the last month of February. So I had to sell off a lot of my units at monthly term stays to get that revenue in just to make my rent and delay payments by a week. I was fine the very next month because in May I made almost 350 grand just in profit, but you have to keep these things in mind. Now I could sit here and talk about the skill set and the things that you learn going from 100 units to 200, from 200 to 400, but obviously we don't have time for that. And most importantly, you need to focus on how to get your first 5 units. But those first 5 units is what's really going to allow you to quit your 9 to 5, to stop working a regular day job, and to start making 10, 20K a month passively and allow you to focus on your business, not waste your time doing anything else. There's so many things that come into this business where if you're not prepared for half thick skin, you're gonna fail. That's the truth about doing Airbnb arbitrage. Would I still recommend it? Yes, 100%. Even though there's a lot of problems that you're gonna face, it's still better than every single business out there. Once your listing is live and ready, there's literally nothing for you to do after that. It's to just maintain your reviews and make sure your operations are running smoothly. It is the fastest way of being a millionaire in 2024. By the way, if you are interested in starting Airbnb arbitrage but have no idea how or are scared to actually make a few mistakes along the way, I have a community built for people just like you. It covers how to get your first property in the next 2 to 3 weeks, how to scale to 50 units and onwards, how to remove yourself from the actual business, automate it so much where you're only working 2 to 3 hours a week, and most importantly, how to actually get business credit cards. That way you can fund the entire business at 0% APR and not use your own cash and use business credit cards instead. That way it allows you to start making 10K a month and quit your 9 to 5 job that you've been so dreaming of ever since the new year started. If that sounds like something you're interested in, click the link below in the description to book a call with my team and see if you're a fit to join our community. As always, make sure to subscribe for more content related to Airbnb arbitrage. I'll see you in the next one.